We were in Seattle. We were due to fly home on September the 11th that morning, and while watching the news, saw the first plane crash into the World Trade Center, and then the second. You know that firefighters are going into the building, and as the buildings then later on began to collapse, that's when it really kind of hit home.
I wasn't quite sure what I was seeing on the screen, if maybe the first plane was an accident, and then as we started hearing more and more, it was a feeling of shock. And then later on, I went and picked up my children at school, and I just felt like I wanted to be with them and, you know, to get them home, get us all together to be safe.
I was retired. I was in the basement of a building in Maryland and heard it over the radio. Of course, it was shocking when it happened. And I knew we were going to war because it had to be responded to.
I was with the United States Marine Corps 3rd Battalion, 8th Marines. On that day, early that morning, when I was taking over my new company, it was a weapons company, I remember the planes hitting the building. And I'll tell you, without hesitation, our Marines and other service members, service categories, stepped up to the plate.
I do believe that the firefighters, as you stand at the bottom of a 100-plus story building that's on fire, you have to know in your heart that this is a really bad situation. But we are trained to go in when everyone else is running out. And if there is a possibility of saving a life, we're going to risk ours to do that. And if there was one that could be saved, you know, the 343 that perished that day went in with that one thought in mind.
9/11 was on the order of Pearl Harbor, when we lost over 3,000 unprovoked, and it wasn't just Americans, it was multinational casualties that as a result of the Twin Towers being attacked.
I've been to, you know, ground zero and read the names on the wall, read the names around the fountain, and it's very emotional. And so when we take time once a year, this is 19 years now this has been, we want to take time to solemnly recognize those who sacrifice so much. For the firefighters, for law enforcement, for the military as well. You want to recognize each one individually. You know, that's the goal. So we do things, we have honor guard that will do a ceremonial pass. We ring a bell, you know, a bell for each person that passed away. And there's ceremonial things that we'll do to try to make it a special day for those survivors that are still here, to let them know that in spite of their ultimate sacrifice, that we're never going to forget.
You know, it was such a significant event, and I think about my children who are 26 and 23, and they were young at the time, and to some extent, they don't know that much about it. But it's important for every generation to remember what happened so that we don't let anything like that ever happen again. And remember all the heroes that existed that day. The people who were firefighters or Port Authority members or police officers, but it was average people too who were heroes that day. So, you know, the strength that they had, the people on the third plane, I mean, we had people doing amazing things that day.
Because I'm a firefighter, I tend to focus on the 343 that perished. But I also realized that there were a huge financial industry at the World Trade Center. And it touched so many lives. You know, it touches us personally as firefighters, but it touched thousands of people's lives. And these were people that got up that morning, went to work, normal day, thinking they're coming home that night to their family, never knowing that'd be their last day. And so it does reach far beyond your own personal knowledge. There's very few people that you meet that don't have some connection to it.
I was actually working for an investment banking firm at the time. I wasn't working for government. And we did a lot of business with a firm which was on the top floor of the World Trade Center. And so our bond traders talked to people at Cantor Fitzgerald every day. And so people who were friends, people who they did business with, they were affected. We traveled a lot for our work, flying became just so different. But they decided that they were going to start this group called Fly for Freedom, and that each year we fly somewhere on or about September 11th, and we go to a place that's meaningful and we attend a ceremony that particular day. We usually wear little pins that say Fly for Freedom, and that always gets a lot of people speaking on the airplane, asking us what we're doing, and we're always willing to talk about it and show the world that we can still fly, we can still be proud, and we can still be part of this country. Whether we're standing at the Liberty Bell or at the USO Club in the Atlanta airport, where everybody stopped and that ceremony took place in the middle of the airport. Each year is something a little bit different, and it brings us together, but it is an opportunity to show how proud we are to be Americans. Last year, due to some illnesses, we stayed local, and that's when we were at Veterans Memorial Park. You know, in Hillsborough County, we do have a large veteran population, and you see all the veterans that are here in our community for that. And so even here, however many miles away, you know, it affected us all.
One of the most prominent statues and figures that you've seen post 9/11 was the 3 firefighters that were raising the flag at the World Trade Center. And I've seen caricatures of that where you have a military member, kind of like Iwo Jima, a military member on one side of the flag and firefighters on the other side, with the caption, "We'll take it from here." So was it the firefighters taking it from the military? Was it the military taking it from the firefighters? It was a little bit of both. You know, we were all in this together. This was the world has now changed. And I think while we all honor the military, people maybe looked at fire and EMS and law enforcement a little differently after that day.
Even though it happened almost 20 years ago, the need to provide for those family members and their children is still ongoing. Our office serves approximately 37,000 clients per year in one way or another. Our services provide everything from A to Z. We want to make sure those veterans know that they have a place to go here in our Veterans Resource Center and connect with a fellow veteran to get those benefits that they've earned.
So this year, while we won't be doing the formal ceremonies in public and large ceremonies where we gather the crowds together, we certainly encourage everyone to take time on September 11th to set aside some time to remember this particular day. Maybe a moment of silence for the families that are left behind that are missing that loved one.
So whether you're a military member, active duty, or a family member, our park, this Veteran Resource Center, this Veterans Memorial Park that hosts 14 memorials that honor our fallen from Hillsborough County from all eras of war. This is a unique place where not only military members can come and take solace in remembering their fallen brethren, but also where a community can come and pay tribute and respect to those members who serve.
And we were able and fortunate to make contact with the Iron Workers Union in New York, who was able to give us this piece of steel that was one of the main girders of the Twin Towers. And it's just like any memorial throughout the country. When you get something like this, it's hallowed piece of remembrance, and they got a place to come to maybe get some solace to combat that they experienced and come out here to have some respite.
It's a community effort. It's a community awareness. It's a team effort that we serve together to assist our veterans and their families and our first responders. We value our partnership with Hillsborough County Fire Rescue. This is a day and an event that we partnered with to just bring a remembrance to all of our first responders and our military members, and we're very proud of that today.
The willingness that people had that particular day, how they helped each other, people walking across the bridge, providing food, strangers providing blankets, people helping others get to the hospital and whatnot. As public servants, we do that every day. We see it every day. We see firefighters going into buildings every day. We see sheriff's office going into areas of unrest every day. This is what they do, and that's their job. but they drove right into a tragedy. They knew what they were going to be facing when they got into that building, and they went in anyway.
One thing that September 11th did was it did bring the country together. There was some very fractionalized politics at the time, and it seemed like party politics were set aside for the day. So I guess once a year we take time to remember it, and maybe it'll just be that attitude that'll continue and go forward.